Welcome to the the third night of the Earshift Music Festival, proudly supported by Sydney Improvised Music Association. I'm your host, Jeremy Rose, and really looking forward to another great night featuring pianist and composer Sean Foran, who's streaming live to you from Brisbane. The Earshift Music Festival celebrates the resilience of artists in what has been an incredibly challenging time for artists all around the world. We're also championing the diversity of artist solo practice, brought to you direct from the intimacy of artists' homes and personal studios. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, and I'm coming to you tonight from the Gadigal land on the Eora Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Sean Foran is one third of the celebrated piano trio Trichotomy. And it's a fantastic recent release on Earshift Music called Haven by his collaboration called Berardi Foran Karlen, and it's featuring the vibraphonist Pascal Schumacher. So I'm going to hand it over to him now, and I'm going to join him at the end of his performance for a bit of an artist chat. So I hope you enjoy the music. Take it away, Sean. Wonderful, Sean.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good to see you. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for that beautiful music.
No
Um,
problems, man.
well, let's jump straight in now and talk about some of the musical processes that were involved in that. I mean, it sound very. I could hear certain sections that sort of remind me of chordal structures of some of the compositions that I've heard you record.
Yeah,
So I was just wondering, how much was composed and how much was improvised.
yeah, sure. Well, I kind of thought about playing a couple of pieces of that I'd written. So a Trichotomy piece and a Berardi Foran Karlen song, and then the cool thing about solo is that you can deconstruct kind of on the fly, in as much way as you want. So I just kind of had this mindset when I thought about this, this week. I thought, well, I'll start with those songs, those two pieces, and then I'll just kind of let it go wherever it wants to go. So if sections really want to open up and harmonically change and kind of go to a new place, like let's just let that happen, and maybe I'll come back to some of the composed things that you would hear, like those harmonic sections. But otherwise, let's just kind of let things really extend out and kind of take the opportunity to play with sound a bit more, and see what you can get out of kind of being inside the piano and blending it with some of the electronics. I just, yeah, I think that's a nice way to explore the improvisation by kind of changing up the sounds a little bit more.
So were there any compositions in there per se? I mean, was it
Yeah,
how many
yeah.
how many how many how many pieces were there? Maybe you
Yeah,
could
there were
talk us through
two.
that.
There were two. So I kind of, yeah, that first one, which was this will probably be quite loud now. Yep. I'm not going to play that. So the first one was a piece called Lynette, which is written for Lynette Irwin,
Our
who's an
dear friend.
amazing, yes, the wonderful Lynette. So I started with that, and then just kind of, as I said, deconstructed it, and then it segued into a piece called Petrichor, which is a trichotomy track. So there were two, but they were quite radically different to what you would hear them in the trios, which I suppose that's what you want to do when you're playing solo, I think.
Mm, mm. Yeah, and for those who don't know, Lynette Irwin, she's an amazing champion of jazz music in Brisbane, and I guess started the international Brisbane International Jazz Festival for I don't know how many years did she have that running.
Man, I so many. Before that it was the Valley Jazz Festival. Before that it was the Pinnacles Festival. So Lynette has been hugely
She's a force. Yeah.
influential, yeah, in music in Brisbane, but nationally. And she took us overseas, to play gigs internationally. So she's, yeah, pretty amazing.
She's been a mentor of mine as well, and there's so many great stories of her at Jazz Ahead.
Yes, yes, that's very true.
um, so in Germany, um, let's talk about some of the influences. I mean, I can hear
Mm.
with your left hand. I love the contrapuntal elements to it. I mean, there's clear kind of echoes of Mel Dow and I guess some Keith Jarrett. Is there any that kind of really speak to you? And are there any sort of
Yeah.
models that you like to use when you're playing solo?
Yeah, I think well those two would be hard to get away from. I think if you're a piano player, you've probably listened to them and been inspired by their playing. I certainly have been. So yeah, you're absolutely right. But then I spent some time in England and I had a bunch of lessons with this British piano player called John Taylor, who is just a really wonderful composer and pianist, and he recorded a lot for ECM, and he just, I don't know, I think his style is quite unique in terms of the way he constructs harmony and the way he approaches solo playing. He's got a lot of really wonderful solo albums, and so a lot of the things that I'm trying to achieve when I play is inspired by John and the lessons I have with him, and how he looks at how you can kind of break apart a single chord and kind of transform what you can do with just that one moment, and also the percussive stuff, like some of that kind of string playing, and was John, inspired by John. So yeah, he's probably the other really big one, and then I don't know. I mean, there's a lot. That could be a long list, couldn't it? We could talk about that for a
We could
while.
talk about that for hours. Yeah. No, but that's yeah. I think there's a good place to start.
Mm,
Well, let's talk a little bit about your setup.
mm.
You've got some electronics there. Do you want to just guide us
Yeah,
through
sure.
what you do?
Yeah,
And of course, this is you've been doing this more extensively in your postgraduate research,
yeah,
right? You've
that's
just
true.
we can call you Dr. Foran now. So maybe you can talk briefly about that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this some of these things that you're hearing is definitely the inspiration behind that is from what I was doing in my recent doctoral studies, and that was all about improvising with technology and improvising with your acoustic instruments. So I was fortunate to have the Trichotomy group and Berardi Foran Karlen along for the ride. Hopefully they enjoyed that process while they were helping me complete my doctorate. And so for that, we really looked at improvising with technology with all the members in the band. And so one of the stipulations of that, and one of the things that I'm trying to do here is really manipulate things on the fly. So none of it is kind of pre-designed or all that. It's just kind of what I can think of in the moment. Without a computer, it's all kind of hardware, So there's this little box here, which is like a little sampler, and it puts delay on the piano and other things like that. So I can kind of scroll through and find something I like quickly, which sometimes is hard to try and play the piano, but also think about that and think about blending it. And so I've got a volume pedal down here, so I can blend this in and out without having to turn the knobs. And then over here is just a synthesizer, which you can see, which is just a synthesizer, I suppose. But I kind of have been playing with that a little bit more, just as another way of creating kind of patty textural sounds, which I can then kind of have going in the background while I can improvise over it, which I probably wouldn't do in the trio because I don't want to over thicken the texture, I suppose. So usually in the trio, it's probably just one of these kind of boxes and maybe a few other kind of effect pedals, like guitar pedal type things. So I think I've become more interested in what I can do with sound with the piano, so that it can be different, because we've all heard so many great piano trios and we've already heard so many great piano players. So what can I offer the music, and what can I offer the art form, and hopefully I can offer something, my approach to playing and my melody and my approach to harmony, but also my approach to sound making and trying to kind of create something interesting and emotive. I think that's part of it. I think some of these sounds try to bring some more emotion to the music and create some drama at times, and a lot of it, thinking of influences as well, is a Norwegian piano player called Boogie Vesseltoft, who kind of does this, to a really heightened level, and has kind of carved out, his sound as being that, and layering up a lot of interesting piano textures. So kind of that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking when you're performing live, solo, for that matter, online,
Mm.
I guess you lose that collaborative element
Yeah,
of music.
yeah,
And I mean, you go into the question of what is jazz. It's really this kind of improvised interaction. But
yeah.
I mean, do you think that's perhaps a way to compensate that? And is that something you really miss when you're
Oh,
performing online?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think I mean, I don't know what you think about it, but I definitely find it hard to be in that performance kind of mindset, because you don't have that response from the audience, and you don't have the feeling of being in that space. I think the space is really important. It's lovely where I'm sitting, and I'm here in the Trichotomy studio, and it's awesome. We've got a great piano, but yeah, there's no feedback. There's no feeling of people. So I think, yeah, perhaps you're right. Like, it's trying to kind of bring some more sounds in to create something interesting for me that I can play off, so that I've got something to kind of do. But I don't know. I think also it's probably just kind of turning that on. Like, it's like, well, it's a performance. It's online, but it's still a performance. So you've really got to get in that mindset as much as you can, no matter what the environment, I think.
Do you think you prefer performing live stream? Obviously, you had the option to
Mm,
pre-record, as some of the other artists of this festival have chosen.
mm.
Do you like the novelty of it being live over pre-record?
I kind of do actually. I think they're really. I feel that they are very different entities. There's the live in-person gig, or there's the pre-recorded gig where we've crafted it all out and we've set it up and we've done it, we've recorded it, we've watched it, we've checked it. Like, cool. And then there's the live stream, which is just anything goes. Like, who knows what? There's no edits, which I like that. I think that's great. And they're all different categories. For me, they feel like different categories. But I like, as I'm sure many of us do, like the excitement of the spontaneity of the live gig. I suppose you feel that now. Like, I feel that now, even though I'm here on my own. It's still that vibe of this is happening right now. So the pressure's on, in a certain way to make the performance as best it can be.
Wonderful. Well, that's a really great place to leave it. But of course, I have to give a little plug to your album, Haven, which is out
Yeah,
on
please.
Earshift.
It's
And
on Earshift.
make sure you visit the Bandcamp page, and it's on
Please do.
all your streaming platforms.
It is.
And what's on the horizon for you, Sean? Have you got any?
There's some great stuff going on actually. We are right now just finishing up a project with Trichotomy and Nozomi Omote, who's a percussionist, who she plays
I saw that.
percussion. Yeah, so we've commissioned some composers, some Queensland composers, ourselves plus others, and we're writing new works for trio plus percussion, and that's coming out as a full kind of multimedia resource. So there'll be scores, there'll be backing tracks, there'll be composer interviews, in studio videos, and people can break it apart and listen to all the instruments and play along. So it's also meant to be an educational thing for tertiary students and secondary students. So that's kind of in process. It's almost there. I think in November it'll be finished. So that's supported by the Australian Council for the Arts. So we're pretty thankful to have their support on it, and it's sounding really good.
As they do with this project, and of course I have to thank our sponsors, Sydney Improvised Music Association, SEMA.
Yes.
But thanks so much to everyone who's tuned in tonight. Tomorrow you can check out a wonderful group from Melbourne, Meet Shell, featuring Helen Svoboda and Andrew Saragossi. So
Yes.
make sure you check out the rest of the festival. But thanks again, Sean.
Thanks,
been a
Jeremy.
pleasure
Thanks
chatting.
everyone for tuning in, and to SEMA and Earshift and everyone really. It's this is such an awesome thing that there's so many great artists on, so I'm pretty thankful to be part of it, and I hope everyone continues to get into it.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Cool.
See you.
See you later.